All right, let's get started here just because I again want to be considerate of everyone's time, especially around this lunch hour for what may be for some folks. And so yeah, I'm really here. My name is Pau. I am the marketing manager at Common Sense Solutions. I'm here to welcome you all and really just give a short intro to our webinar. And then the core content is going to be delivered by Ricky and Jason. So I'll go through all of that. But firstly, welcome so much for all the folks that, again, have joined us in previous webinars. Welcome back. For all the folks that are a little bit new here, we're excited to have you. And so with that said, today's webinar is going to be about micro markets for healthcare employees, really focusing on some key strategies for success here. What we're going to do is have about 35 minutes of content and then have some time at the end here for Q&A. So definitely encourage you to submit some questions even while we're going through the session. So feel free to add comments, send your questions through the Q&A button. And we will be recording this webinar, making it available on our website for on-demand viewing. If you know of any colleagues who are not able to attend at this time, feel free to let them know and share the recording with them. They can just go on csense.com and go into our events page and see the recording. And then more importantly, we will be sending out a post-event survey, which we're just looking for your feedback really in terms of the content, the delivery, to help us really enhance these webinars. We plan on doing these monthly. We did take a little bit of a break from them. I was on maternity leave, so I am back and I'm excited to continue to have these. With that said, let's dive into our agenda today. We are going to talk a little bit about the micro market trends and impacts, and then go more in depth into some of the best practices, some things to consider with a micro market for your employees, whether you're in that conception stage or whether you've executed and you have a micro market already. And then we'll recap and have our Q&A session. With that said, I'm always excited to talk about our presenters here, our key speakers, Jason and Ricky, both of whom individually have over 20 years of experience in the food and beverage industry, working with healthcare clients, especially in terms of their needs for food service solutions, and micro markets have been a hot topic. So I'm not going to take too much of their thunder here, just wanted to mention all of that and then pass it over to Jason.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. I really appreciate that and definitely appreciate everybody's time today. When we started thinking about what topic we wanted to have for this month's webinar, the team was discussing, what's the hot trends, what are we seeing, what's really, on everybody's mind this time. And definitely the self-checkouts is something we've seen a very, very large rise in sales and people asking about. So that's why we went ahead and went with this topic for this month. And as you can see the stat, just like we're seeing, micro markets are growing. They say on average 13% year over year. So that's a huge, huge growth in comparison to some of the other technologies. Where are we seeing the largest growth of the micro markets, you ask? You got it, in the healthcare industry. So as this is showing right here, healthcare is just poised to take off. You might already have micro markets in your facilities. It's the biggest thing we're seeing. A lot of point of sales going to self-checkout as well. So that's where we're seeing this. Part of that, is going along with, especially after COVID, people are adopting these type of technologies at a rapid pace. So what are some benefits to the micro market? What are some of the challenges that we're seeing in the healthcare industry? You've probably seen a lot of labor shortage again, especially after COVID, people left, employees aren't coming back to work. So we're seeing a labor shortage, a lot of competition. So you're seeing things like Uber Eats, DoorDash, these other third parties that are taking some of maybe your budget, some of your customers away from you. And we're also seeing a changing service model. So where people used to be more accepting of eating at certain times, they're getting used to be able to eat on demand, kind of like, Amazon getting next day packages. People want basically immediate satisfaction. So we're seeing the changing service model in the industry as well. So what's the benefits of self-checkouts for this industry? Number one, you've got 24/7 availability. So that's 24/7 ability to sell items. So if we don't have a cashier at these stations at a certain time of the day, that doesn't matter. We can still make money and sell items throughout the entire day and possibly third shifts, right? Another one is lower overhead costs. Because we don't have as much labor involved at these stations, and maybe we can reallocate that labor to another area that we need it, then we also see lower overhead costs for these self-checkouts. As far as competition, again, these employees now can go to these self-checkouts and grab food on demand when they want it. They don't have to rely on these third-party delivery applications. So you're keeping that money back in-house instead of giving it to the competitors. And again, it satisfies that consumer's demand for self-service, getting it when they want it, contactless, be able to use technology to get what they want when they want it. So that's kind of the benefits of food and nutritional services. How about the healthcare professionals and employees and guests themselves? What we're seeing, and a lot of my family is in healthcare. You guys definitely know this. There's no such thing as regular hours typically when dealing with healthcare. You might be working 12-hour shifts, third shift, long. It's just picking up shifts, right? That's just the most irregular hours you can see. Another challenge we've got is you've got very short breaks a lot of times. You've got emergencies, things coming up, pulling you away from your meal period. And then changing demographic, we're going to talk about in a second as well, who's working in the workforce now. So for the long irregular hours, now the self-checkouts make it quick and convenient. They can work around their own schedule to get food. A lot of times like I said, they can't grab lunch at noon or whatever. They've got to grab something at 10 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. So it's quick and convenient, allows them to get food when they want it. 24/7 access to the food. This allows those other shifts that maybe, are not conventional to be able to get to the food on demand as well. With the short breaks, they can go grab the food as they want it, go back, spend that time they have left over instead of waiting in line, possibly at the cafeteria, maybe in their office, or maybe in a quiet place that they can kind of relieve some stress and make their job a little bit more pleasurable. Again, maximize the break times, same thing within that, so they can kind of be able to take some stress off themselves. As far as the changing demographics, I've heard this personally, and you've probably seen this as well. Over 50% of healthcare workforce are Gen Z and millennials. We're getting a lot more of the young people coming into the workforce. And what does that matter? Because these people are used to this on-demand model of getting their food, they're used to ordering from their phone or a tablet, computer, or contactless as well. So this helps, they're speeding up the process of adopting all these self-checkouts as well. So 3 things to think about with micro market. There's going to be more we discuss, but these are 3 key needs. Think about how much space you have, what you're going to do with that space. Think about how much power we need, get with your staff on that. And then network access. How are we going to get network accessibility into that space? So some more factors considers hardware. I'm going to go over hardware and software, and Ricky's going to take you through the products, space, and best practices. So hardware, this is a really big one. The kiosks are great. Think about what hardware are we going to use as far as placing the orders. Are we going to use kiosks or more traditional point of sale systems like you probably have in house today? And really the advantage of each. The kiosks, as you can see on the left there, a lot of these that we offer have the printer built into them. So in that bracket right there, there's actually a printer, receipt printer already in there. This one also has a barcode scanner. The fastest way to get through self-checkout is scanning those barcodes and getting out. So the form factor on these is very nice. They're sleek, aesthetically pleasing. Conversely, if you talk about the traditional self-checkout, or I'm sorry, traditional point of sale, where we're seeing a lot of those still is where they're using it for dual purpose. So maybe during breakfast and lunch, possibly dinner, they've got a cashier still there at the station, but on those off hours, like, maybe 9 to 11 or afternoon, they're actually turning the device around so it can be turned into a self-checkout mode. So again, when the cashier's there, they can put people through the line, but when those downtimes, they just turn it around, put it in kiosk mode. So that's the benefit of having a traditional checkout is, you're still gonna have those peripherals laying out, but it's dual purpose, and then maybe it can be a little less expensive that way as well. Some things to think about that is, definitely height. You see the one on the left has the podium, the one on the right's more of a shelf mounting. Also think about our employees or who's our customers who's coming through the line. We recently did an installation at a hospital, and they realized that on the countertop, it had made it a little too high for people in wheelchairs. To accommodate that, we actually put the buttons more towards the bottom so they could reach them. And that's something else we'll talk about in a minute. Think about, the height, the size, how big's the screen. I think the ones we're showing here have a 22-inch screen. Is that big enough? Is it too big for your area? So think about your real estate there. Also think about how many kiosks you're going to need or self-checkouts you need. You know, how many employees are going to be coming through, maximum peak time. We don't want to get these people bunched up, so it's then kind of beating the reason we have them there anyway to get through quickly. Some other things to think about is, number one, there's the barcode reader. Again, the faster we can get people through with barcodes makes it the fastest way. So think about putting barcode readers in. The other thing is, a lot of our customers do the employee payroll deduction. So think about what kind of readers we're going to need here. Do we need a barcode scanner? Do we need a magstripe reader? Or we proximity badge readers? And how are we going to attach those to the self-checkout? Where are they going to go? And also think about how the employees will know what to do with those. So those are a few things there. The other thing we've seen a lot of uptick in purchases are label printers. Along with what I'm saying with these barcodes, how are we getting on the things we're selling? So if we're making fresh sandwiches for our employees, if we're making, boxing salads for them, we need some way to put those barcodes on them. So these label printers can print out the barcodes. You can slap them on there. That way, again, they're getting through line very, very quickly. Another thing to think about is, if we're going cashless, then how do we, attend to these customers that only have cash? So, a couple of ways. I know some people maybe have a person in the office, an admin, that has access to gift cards. So employees can go in there maybe with $50 and they can turn that into a gift card that can be used at the self-checkout. Another thing is gaining popularity are these reverse ATMs, and you might have seen these in some places where basically people can go put their cash into this machine and it spits out basically a Visa, gift or credit card that they can use in the point of sale as well. So definitely something to think about. And I think we've probably found out some of these the hard way. So other things to think about, of course, security cameras, it's deterrence of shrinkage of things, where we want to position those at. But definitely, talk to your IT team, talk to your security team, and think about where you want to put those cameras. Another thing you probably already see in your facilities today are these access controls where you have to use your badge to get into certain areas. You can think about doing that in a grab and go area as well if you want to help keep that contained. As far as software goes, really, look to what you're currently already using. Talk to your POS provider and see if their software can adapt to do self-checkouts. You want a continuous theme throughout your facility. So really, if you're using a self-checkout in a more of a grab-and-go area, we want to make sure it's in sync with what the rest of the hospital is using, possibly the gift shop or the cafeteria or possibly a coffee shop. So think about continuity around the entire organization. Something else to ask your person about is now we're all using our phones for basically everything, right? Mobile ordering, do they have an app that you can use for mobile ordering? Ours actually even has the ability to use your camera as a barcode scanner. So I think something neat about that is if you did have a spot, maybe like a nurse's station or somewhere that maybe you can't put a full point of sale in, but it's far enough from the cafeteria that it makes sense to put some items in there, they could actually grab a bag of chips there from the station, scan the barcode with their phone, and use their credit card or payroll deduct to pay for those items from anywhere basically in the facility. So ask about those kind of functionalities. Another thing is user experience. I like to use the KISS method, keep it simple. You want the buttons to be very easy to read, easy accessible, easy to maneuver through. Again, think about the hospital I told you about a little bit ago, where they had to push the buttons down lower in so people could get reach to them. So think about accessibility. Pictures are worth 1,000 words a lot of times. Someone sees a Coke sign, logo, they know exactly what they're getting there. So think about that. And then the throughput of putting in orders, just make sure it's as easy as possible. Another thing to think about is maybe limiting your items in the grab and go area. If you are doing made to order food where it's printing back to the kitchen, I would want to have a enchilada platter on there with a lot of different modifiers. Just again, try to keep it simple and maybe reduce the number of items that they can order if you're making it on demand. Another thing to think about is the back end with the back of office, right? What does that look like? Is it easy to learn? Reports in the self-checkout, the reporting is key to making this thing work. We need to know how much we're selling, what are we selling, what do we need to be putting in stock. All those type of things are key. Another thing, for instance, our point of sale can do is actually generate barcodes directly in the software. So you can go in, put the barcodes under whatever items you want, and then print them off there directly to the printer, so you can have those ready to go for your items, and again, get people through the line as fast as possible. Think about, again, can my system have the ability to put photos in there that can be attached to those items, descriptions, nutritional information, and branding? So does it have the ability to put nutrients and different information right on the button so people can see exactly what they're getting as well? From there, I think I'll turn it over to Ricky. Ricky, you want to talk about products?
Yeah, thanks, Jason. So now talking about some of the physical things to do here. We're going to talk about products, and you have to make some decisions before you go into the space and get everything set up. One is, are you going to run it yourself, or are you going to get a third party? There's pros and cons for each. Running it yourself, you'd have to provide the FTEs, you'd have to provide the products, pricing, setup, restock, everything yourself, and that may be a cheaper way to go if you needed to. The third party aspect, again, they would provide the FTEs, they would provide the product, they would provide the setup and just the upkeep. Again, it depends on how you're set up and how the facility kind of wants to go. Your offerings, the products that you offer, usually there's anywhere from 150 to 400 different types of products. So you have to choose those. And by choosing those, are you going to stock it specifically for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Are you going to stock it for snacks and drinks? Are you going to stock it for take-home meals? For the employees, most employees, healthcare employees work like 12-hour shifts, nurses and staff. And when they do, they can pick up things to take home for dinner. If you're going to offer that, you need to know that up front too, and just or decide. Some of the trends to help you decide is utilizing your sales reports in your retail areas now to kind of see the popular items, and that can help you stock things. Just statistics show that water and coffee are the two main items purchased in micro markets, and you could see that just as being, I need some coffee, I'm just going to run in here, grab it and leave, or water and leave. That's the whole concept of the micro market. Energy drinks seem to be the most stolen. So shrinkage for energy drinks, you have to take that into consideration if you're going to offer them, placement of those drinks, and then keep a watch on them. And also price adjustments. Even though you may be selling something in your other retail areas, this is going to be totally autonomous. So you want to take into consideration, do you want to, will it make more money by selling more product? So do you want to lower the price, or do you want to raise the price to help with the FTEs that would be involved of restocking and prep? Then you have to think about your space. We have customers that turn a storeroom or closet into a micro market, and that has a door function on it to where you get in with your badge. We have one customer in particular that just caters to students and residents. So they're the ones that come in there. It's open 24/7. They can come in there. They can get anything that's on with their card. Anything in there can be charged to their card and their account, and it's just accessible for them. Or you can do an open concept, such as turning your cafeteria into fully self-op and self-checkout, self-serve. Again, it just depends on how you're wanting to set that up. So keep that in mind. And when you do that, you want to make it accessible. Like Jason said about ADA, you want to think about being sensory friendly too. And then you'll also want to design it as a flow to keep the flow going by branding things, by setting color-coded areas and items. What helps with that product display and setup is that the like items are together. And if I'm wanting chips, then I have my selection of chips, and then what would be next? Maybe the drinks would be next. Some people lead with drinks. So again, just make the flow work for you. Have signage, digital signage to where you could take care of that from the office, or you can have physical paper signage there that can be changed out. Again, the flow. We had attended a seminar recently on micro markets and self-checkout, and 3 minutes is the key amount of time that someone spends in a micro market. The goal is to have 3 minutes or less from the time they enter to the time they leave. That way it can accommodate more people. It's not as crowded. You have a throughput, and you'll know your throughput. Again, it's going to be some trial and error on some things whenever you get started, but think about that up front, just knowing to look for those. For best practices, you can adhere to hospital guidelines and projects they have. Sustainability, keep that in mind. If you're doing that already in the cafeteria, keep that in mind on what you're doing here, and offer sustainable products. With food and customer safety, think about package tampering. Make sure that you have packaging that's I guess tough and as tamper resistant as possible. And plus, you want to make sure that the area is clean at all times, and restock as much as you can so that you don't miss out on any product and any sales. Again, having someone in there to do that from time to time is not like an FTE as a cashier. It's just someone taking care of, assigned to take care of that area. With the micro markets, as Jason said, 50% of the employees of the hospital now are Gen Z and millennials, and they are apt to come here. You may have resistance from some people, and if you do, you may want to put in a rewards program or put it in your current rewards program to offer to suggest people to come there, to help them choose that. You may want to offer some locations to promote certain areas will offer anniversaries at their hospital, like employee anniversaries of being there for so long, and offer them a meal, or birthday meals are done as from like that as well. And any type of promotion or special that you want to run, again, if just keep that in mind. If it's not working, or if you think you could draw more people, you wouldn't need that if it takes off. And always, you want to hear the satisfaction from the customers that are using it, just to give you ideas for the future. So getting the feedback from any type of suggestion box, or some type of survey that's handed out. We have a customer that has mounted a clipboard on the wall of their micro market, and it has just a pad on there so people can leave notes of what they like to see. We're always out of this, or this is great, we love it, please stock more. There may be more items that could be sold in there. As long as you log and track it, you know what you've done and what worked or what didn't work. And having a person there that takes care of the area on a timely basis. I'm calling an internal steward for that area that would just make sure it's clean, make sure it's stocked. Again, it's FTE, but it's not somebody that's there. They have other chores and everything they can take care of too, but just make sure that someone's taking care of that area during the day and through each part of the day. You have to think about shrinkage, just like we were mentioning the energy drinks. You want to detour it as much as you can. Some people have gone with multiple cameras, and it's just policed every once in a while because you're having to do it yourself. You don't want to pay someone to watch a camera all day long. So you just have it there just to police it. You can just spot watch some of it to see in busy times or people walking out if you see a lot of shrinkage. And some of our customers have just put up one camera over the checkout area, and then a couple of dummy cameras that are just mounted around the doors in certain areas. That way, it just detours it. You're not going to stop it, but it does detour shrinkage. And always take inventory. Know what you put in there. Know what's taken out. Know what's sold. Then you know what's missing, and you know where you need to make a few changes.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Jason and Ricky, for sharing your knowledge and the stories from conversations that you have had with your customers. These are all the reasons why we wanted to put this webinar together, is because it has become a hot topic. And so in terms of this webinar, although it's not a new concept when we're talking about micro markets, they've been around for over a decade. I'm sure the conception has been, I believe 12 years ago is kind of the amount of time I think we first started hearing about micro markets. So we know it's not a new concept, but it's definitely, we see the trend is rising. Definitely within the healthcare organization, there are infinite opportunities to have a micro market. And while we could focus on micro markets for guests and patients and residents, we really wanted to focus in on employees because they're such an important aspect of your facilities. So with that said, some takeaways here. We're hoping you took some nuggets from here to have a conversation within your organization about micro markets. Again, whether you're in that conception stage or the execution stage. I think one thing that we should remember is that when we're talking about micro markets for employees, is that your measure of success, while it is revenue driven, that another key component is really your employee wellness. Having a micro market that offers healthy options is going to really directly correlate to the health of your employees. And so, as we've heard about all these strategies, we can see that the success of your micro market doesn't just fall heavily on one specific department. It's really different leaders from around your organization and facility that really help ensure the success of the micro market. So with that said, I want to take this time to answer any questions. And so let me just kind of look through that, and Ricky and Jason, I'll ask them and see what kind of response you might be able to share with our guests. All right. I have a question regarding adoption. So in terms of adoption, how do we ensure high adoption with employees?
I think I can take this one. Yeah, kind of like Pal was saying, definitely collaborate with all of your different members and different teams. I think getting some peer groups involved will really help with that as well. And I was actually on site for an install not too long ago, and one thing I thought was really interesting was most everybody was pretty happy with the new setup. However, there was 2 employees that were kind of disgruntled and kind of murmured some things under their breath. And the staff there, they weren't surprised at all. They said they knew that those 2 people would have problems, and they're the complainers. My thoughts were, well, if they knew that in advance, if they could have got those people, involved in the transition and asked their feedback and got them really excited about it, then they would probably be vocal positively the other way and help with that adoption and making it go in smoothly. So maybe definitely work with your peer groups, and if there's some trouble people, try to get them involved, get them excited, maybe be champions or cheerleaders for the change.
Another question is in terms of with kiosks and self-checkout, what's kind of when you're talking about labor shortage, it looks like they're asking about how many FTEs would that help replace or support? I shouldn't say replace, I guess in this case, they're probably asking what would a kiosk benefit in terms of labor shortage? Is there a specific number that a kiosk could replace in terms of productivity?
Well, with the numbers that we've heard, there was a 3-minute time frame that someone enters and leaves, and that was their goal, to get that through. And apparently that's a kind of an industry goal of getting someone through there. Now, standing at the register to ring up, I don't know how long that line is. It depends on how well you're doing. I think we've heard today that it takes about 2 minutes to ring yourself up, depending on what you're purchasing, because it could be one product and it could be several depending on the time of day, if you're going home. But what can also help is something Jason mentioned, was the allowance of someone to check themselves out with their own product. So if they bring their own phone in and there's an app that allows you to do that, we have that app. You can check yourself out like Sam's Club. I was in Sam's Club this past Saturday, and it was busy. I picked the wrong time to go, but that was the only time that I had available. All the lines were full, and there were some self-checkout lines that had kiosks, and they were full. Well, I just pulled my phone out, opened up my app, did scan and go, and I scanned the 4 products that were in my buggy, and I walked out the door. But they have someone there checking it, but offering that, I think, would eliminate lines if you experienced that.
Well, the other thing, I mean, the easy answer would be one FTE per register would be kind of, if you've got one cashier per register and that's what they're managing. But other thing I would say is, I don't think any of us have too many employees, so we're really reallocating those employees to maybe another job they can do. I'm not sure if we can just remove them all together, right? So anyway.
Yeah, those are good answers. Hopefully we were able to address those questions. So I did only see a couple come in. I guess just for my own interest, in your conversations, have you heard of any additional trends or maybe anything in terms of micro markets that you think is the future? So I know like robots cooking, or that's maybe another future micro market situation, maybe another webinar we will talk about in the future. Who knows? Any other trends that you guys have heard of?
I think, Ricky, that was kind of what you're talking about, right? Is the app thing?
Yeah, and also you could have, since water and coffee were the 2 main items being purchased, you can have coffee makers that could hook up to like our payroll deduction. You could have it to where you scan to get a coffee, and a lot of vending. If you wanted to start out with vending, you can have cashless vending as part of that micro market. Again, it's a little more costly maybe for some, rather than just turning a storage area into it. But there's definitely some trends that are going. Sally the robot was one of the great trends, but it's no longer here. And we had hooked up to that too, to where you just walked up to it and ordered. Somebody will come out another one of those one of these days.
Yeah, well, I think that's too, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think too, and of course the buzzword of the year is AI, right? So how's AI going to affect these things? And I read one thing about down the road, you'll be able to walk up to a kiosk and it'll have a camera and it'll be able to identify who you are, facial recognition, right? Be able to go back and see what your past purchases are and suggest something new that the AI thinks you might like, or that kind of thing. So I think that's probably down the road too.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we are so thankful that you guys were able to join us during this time, and we're hoping that again you were able to take some nuggets of information to have some conversation starters within your facility. We are planning on having these monthly, so we do look forward to having you, but we'll be sending out a post-event survey, and we do hope to have your feedback so we can continue putting these on. Thank you so much. You guys will get some time back.
Thank you.
Thank you.